Ultimate Urban Fantasy Podcast, episode number 12. You're listening to the Ultimate Urban Fantasy Podcast. We've got all that's awesomely supernatural on TV, movies, books, games, and more. Your one-stop podcast for vampires, werewolves, mutants, and myths. And now here are your hosts, Archer, Sherry, and Ravenheart. Hi, I'm S.A. Archer, co-creator of the urban fantasy series The She. Today we've got my co-host, Sherry Sameen, who is actress and a voice talent, and we have Ravenheart, S. Ravenheart, who is the other half of the She creation team. Can you tell I'm doing it without my script for the first time? He's also a co-creator of The She, and we have a pod dog barking in the background. He is our techie guy and our game correspondent. And this is the Ultimate Urban Fantasy Podcast. And I'm giddy today because we are talking with Veronica Giguere. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, that's the awesome part about podcasting. Everybody hears your name first and they can't mispronounce it.
Yeah. Because I totally would not have pronounced it that way, just looking at how it's written.
No, that's okay.
And Veronica is an author and a voice actress, or is that how you put it, voice actress or voiceover artist? Or
narrator, voice artist, voice talent. I make crazy sounds into a microphone for other people.
And hopefully get paid for that.
Yes, that's always a plus.
And a teacher. I mean, you got.
Yes.
I was saying, I was looking at some of your bio, and I'm like, she's a woman of many hats.
Yes. Yes.
What do you teach?
I teach college. I am I teach some math classes, so algebra, like your introductory algebra courses, but the mainstay of what I teach is what we call college success courses. I deal in transitions, so getting to college and getting comfortable with college, and then I also work with students who may have struggled for the first year and they've been dismissed or dropped out, and then they want to get back in the swing of things. So I try to get people on campus and comfortable with knowing how they learn, what they want to learn. I take a real holistic viewpoint. So it's never just study skills, but what do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff doesn't help you. Like, you're doing all this motivational speak, and you're like, yeah, I need to do that too.
Yeah, you can't. I learned a while ago, you can't teach it unless you try to incorporate some of it. So most of what I teach is time management, which is probably why I'm able to manage so many little things.
Oh my gosh, so. I saw your project list, and it is long.
Yeah.
How many audiobooks have you voiced? Do you know?
Oh my gosh.
I should have given you this question in advance so you could have prepared.
Oh geez. Let's see. I just finished, I do some narration through the Audiobook Creation Exchange, ACX, via Audible, which has been really, really good to me, connecting me with authors in different genres for novels and short stories. And I just finished my 15th book with them, I think in about a year's time.
Oh, wow. In a year?
That's on a year, yeah. That's on top of the Secret World Chronicles podcast. We're in our 6th season. What else?
How many years has that been running? I mean, I know it's 6 seasons. Is it 6 years? Or is
No, it's been... some of the seasons have stretched on for more than a year. We had a hiatus while some stuff got rearranged with some of the main authors. I took on production duties as well as voicing and website duties as well.
Oh,
that
wow.
one's been going for just under 7 years, and the reason I know this is because I started listening to Secret World Chronicles when I was trying to stay awake after I brought my second son home from the hospital, because it's really, really hard to sit awake with a kid when you're trying to feed them, and it's 3 a.m. and you're exhausted, and you know that you're gonna like slip out of the rocking chair.
Yes.
Sherry's getting ready to have that in a month or so.
Yeah, or hallucinating. I hallucinated with my first pregnancy. I was so sleep deprived.
Yep. And what I did was I had my iPod and I had the first episodes there, and I would listen to them, and they weren't putting them out fast enough. Because these were friends of mine who were writing. They were friends I'd met gaming. And I said, guys, do you have any more episodes? I've listened to the first 6 times. I can recite them for you. They said, well, we can't get a reader. Well, I'll try. And so I volunteered, and yeah, my second child is 7 years old. And we have 6 seasons of a podcast. Yeah.
So we started from gaming, and it sounds like you started from gaming?
Yes, we did.
Was
we
it
did start
a
from gaming.
formal game that you're part of, or was it a game you guys kind of created on your own? Like the Secret Chronicles world, I mean, is that, or Secret World Chronicles, I'm going to get that messed up.
It's okay. Actually, the way it started was through a MMORPG that has sadly died due to NCSoft being jerks, and I will say that because they are jerks. We started, this whole group of role players started playing this superhero-themed MMO called City of Heroes. And I had friends, I had my husband's friends. They said, you'd love this game because the storylines are so rich and you can make your own characters. And I thought, nah, I'm not going to pay $15 a month to RP. Please, I can sit and write stories on my own. Lo and behold, 7 years of an addiction later, I wind up sitting there and playing. And if you've played any kind of MMO, you're not just, and you really get into the character creation, you're not just running around smashing things, setting stuff on fire, icing stuff, lightning bolts, big old swords. But as you're doing that, you're typing in character. And then when you finish your missions or your trials or your task force, you're sitting there conversing in character with these people. And you just keep going and you build the character and create it. And the game had an ability to log the chats. So we'd log the chats and save them and post them on message boards and take these little bits of dialogue and blow them up into full-fledged stories. And one of the people that we were playing with, this group was called the RP Congress, the Roleplay Congress. And this core group of people, we wrote so many stories. The 4 beginning people, they were like, you know what? We can take a lot of what we've done, create our own little individual scenario, so we're not stepping on Paragon Studios' property. And they wound up creating Secret World Chronicle with a lot of the characters that they initially started with in the game. So when I get to read for characters like Belladonna Parker or Red Genie or Red Savior, it's always a thrill because I remember running around with my characters and playing with these people. And so I have a full visual. I remember what the character looks like. So it totally grew out of gaming, and it's a shame that that game no longer exists, but this is like kind of our little piece that we still have.
Do you guys still game as you're building the story?
We do a lot of collaborative writing. So the collaborative text piece where we all have certain characters that we are responsible for their voices. So we sit and we do the dialogue back and forth. So the way I started role-playing and gaming, that's what we did. I didn't start with a character sheet and having points for this and points for that. You established your character, you respected, the boundaries of other people, no god-moding, and you wrote. So that's pretty much what we do. Even just 2 nights ago, we were using another Google Hangout, and we had a document in the middle, and we're just starting to write the 3rd book. And we just sit there and go back and forth, and Dennis has his characters, and Cody has his characters, and Misty has her characters, and I've got mine, and we go.
Give a shout out real quick on the authors.
So our authors, Mercedes Lackey, Dennis Lee, Cody Martin, and me, Veronica Giguere. So it is a full-up 4-person team. The other starting author on the first book, Steve Libby, he's one of the founders. He left after the first book due to health issues. So that's like, who else knows? Wait, Veronica's been reading. Let's ask her. So it was very fortunate and serendipitous, and it's loads of fun.
So the world is very expansive. There's a lot of characters. So about how many characters are you each juggling?
Well, the other three juggle a lot more because they've been writing and owning those characters. Let's see. Misty and Cody manage most of our Russian Soviet superhero contingent, and that can be anywhere from 2 to 20 characters. Aside from that, Cody is mostly responsible for the character of John Murdoch. Misty is responsible for the characters of Victoria Victrix-Naj, Belladonna Parker, the Seraphim. Let's see. And Dennis is responsible for Red Genie, Bulwark. He takes the lead on the group that we've kind of called the Misfits. So the Echo characters that have been recruited, but they're not necessarily your first pick to go save the world, but that's all we have right now. And then for my part, I'm responsible for this right now CEO of Echo, Yankee Pride, the one non-metahuman character, the normal who's stuck with everybody else. How apropos, that's how I feel some days. Ramona Ferrari. And then I'm responsible for...
I love Ferrari.
Oh my gosh. I adore it. Ramona, it's funny. You always think of some characters when you write, can I cosplay this? Can I do this? I'm like, I've got a suit. I can toss on the suit. I can yoink the hair up and just grumble around. That's Ramona. That's it.
She's sort of
so
like
much fun.
The badass. I don't think she's FBI. I'm not sure what her. I know she's a detective. But
That's it. She's just a detective in Echo, kind of like how your police forces have detectives. She's the detective for that force.
Okay, yeah, she's got that whole badass detective. We're gonna do this. She's the only human amongst all these people, and she's like, we're doing it.
That sounds really familiar to me. I feel like I've heard that before.
We have a human character that's stuck in with all of our...
She's a detective.
Yeah, she's a PI in ours.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have this large world, and it's on like audiobook, and you do it for free. Like you have posted it for free. Where can people listen to the audio version?
Well, you can get it a couple ways. I tell people the first place to go is to our website at www.secretworldchronicle.com. Another good place to go if you want to get the books in chunks is to go to a place called audiobooks.com. That's PODIOBOOKS.com. That is a wonderful site for finding a ton of free fiction. And the guys who run it, Evo Terra.
Yeah.
I adore Evo. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love Evo. He and then another gentleman named T. Morris and another gentleman named Chris Miller. They are all wonderful, just beautiful human beings, and they're very talented. But their combination of business savvy and writing savvy and coding savvy got Audiobook started, and it's a great hub. So our 5 completed books, seasons. For podcasting, we call them seasons because our actual print books combine seasons, and there's some stuff that you're only going to find in the podcast that you aren't going to find in the books, because we like to think of our podcast, that's our marketing thing, that's how we get you hooked, because people want that piece. They want that concrete book to hold. So yeah, Audiobooks. We're out on iTunes, so you can subscribe. We have a couple different feeds for iTunes. We have a master feed, which has everything we've ever put out. And I always feel like I have to apologize because, in 7 years of podcasting, you learn and you improve. I've upgraded equipment. I've learned how to record. I've learned how to produce. So the first season is rough. We get better. We get much better.
And you know what? I listened to all the first season, and I'm not sitting there going, audio quality. You know, I'm totally, into the stories and into the characters. And I don't mean to take you off track.
No,
Did you have more places that you're available? The next question is ready to.
Those are the main ones. There are probably other places and clicks, but if you Google Secret World Chronicle, you'll find us.
Okay, and it is in a published form, like it's from Baen Books, is that right?
Yes, Baen Books. It's they're awesome. The editors over there are great, and we asked them. We said point blank, "You realize we're going to put out the podcast for free?" Mm-hmm. And they said, "Yeah, you need to keep doing that." I'm like, "Okay, Tony, we'll keep putting it out for free." And because they recognize that we have such loyal, wonderful, nitpicky listeners. They know the world better than we do. Mm-hmm. And it's so funny to watch the analysis on our Facebook pages. And, this character said this. What do you think it means? I'm like, I didn't think I meant anything when I wrote that, but okay.
Yeah. And I wonder if with your voice too, if they're like, "Oh, that inflection, that must have meant," like how you read.
Yeah. We've had some of that, that sounds just like this character. Are they related? And like, no, I just ran out. But
speaking of when I first was talking to you, and I was like, well, how many people voice it? I hadn't looked at the credits or anything, and I would have sworn there was a full cast. No. And when you said that, I went on there going, oh, well, she must mean she's read some, and that other people have read some. And I went through it, and you read almost every single, yeah. And you do all these voices, and your guys sound like men. I mean,
yes.
There's no, not for 1 minute am I going, that's a woman trying to sound like a man. I have to just.
Okay, now I got to hear that, because I didn't get that. I listened to a couple for a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I didn't get to a part where she was doing a man. Now I got
a bunch of guys. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, here's they're the two lovely things I've realized about my doing voiceovers. One, I can't do voiceovers while I sit, and right now I've got my little bar stool here in my studio, so that means I got to stand up.
Oh yeah, do a man's voice, right?
And here's the other thing. The other problem is that. Oh, I have a problem. Please, speak. Okay. The other problem is that if I'm trying to do it, I've realized I can't do a voice on command. I literally have to read from something.
Yeah, and you probably have to be okay, I'm in the mode. Yeah,
it's so it's looking and going, can I find something to read? Who's got that voice? So I do
that when I read stories to my daughter. Just automatically take on what you think that character's voice is.
Exactly.
It just comes. I can't explain it.
Okay, so I'm gonna snag a part from a recent episode that we did, and it's between the characters Belladonna Parker, and the Red Genie. And my co-authors, Dennis especially, they seem to take a certain perverse delight in figuring out how many different characters and accents they can throw into a scene. He's like, oh, here, okay, so let's throw in some Klingon and some Hungarian, and really, guys.
Yeah, that was the other thing was the accents, because there you do Russian, you have a guy that does a Southern voice.
Yeah, Yankee Pratt has that really thick dude.
There was even an Irish one. I mean,
yep. Yeah, so let's see.
How did you do the accents? I mean, how did you learn? I mean, did you take theater, or were you just kind of, how did you catch on? You just have an ear for it? Some people have an ear and they can just pick it up.
I mimic and I watch people. Yeah. I'm really lucky that the university I work at is very international. We have a huge international population, and for part of my job, my office is right outside our tutoring center. And so I can listen to people, and my students have gotten used to me walking up to them and going, "Where are you from?" And they'll look at me and they'll go, "Why?" And it's because it sounds like you're from here. Am I right? And I'm like, yeah. So we have a large Caribbean population. So I'm learning to pick out the different island accents and knowing how to differentiate. Our receptionist, she's from the Northern Ireland. So I can grab that accent and counter it with a more Southern Irish
See, now I would,
And
I would have like a tape recorder with me and just be taping people without them knowing, just so I could play it back whenever I need to.
it's fun. And usually if I tell people that I'm listening because I want to learn the accent,
that
then
freaks them out.
Sometimes my students have gotten used to me.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, plus you're a teacher. Like as another student, they're going, because we would have to do that in theater. We'd have to make a caricature of somebody to get their a lot of people would go, no. As soon as you say, I'm not gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna make a character based off you. But you'd be surprised. Many people are like, no, they think you're gonna make fun of them, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna do you, but I'm gonna make you, you know what I mean, to a different person. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And I like the Russian because it comes from the back of the throat and it's deep.
Yes.
Like even the women talk really deep, and the French are up here. They're in
the French. It's that very nasal.
Up in the nasal, yeah.
Your jaw is really tight, and you've got the throat, all the throat muscles.
Whenever I'm not good at it anymore. I haven't been doing accents in a while, but when I always found myself when I would do the French, it'd be like my lips would automatically go.
Well, the thing is,
I can't do the French right now, but my lips would automatically do the duck. Because I would bring up my cheek.
You have to.
Yeah.
I took French for 9 years.
Okay, then
so it was and by the time you get to like AP French in high school, they go through all the exercises where you're supposed to tighten this and lift this and keep your tongue like this, and so you got a bunch of high school students going.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry we distracted you from your reading.
I'm easily distracted.
Me too, which doesn't help. But okay, I don't know if I can do a guy. So I want to hear you do them.
Okay, so I'm going to go back and forth between Bella and Red Genie, and there's going to be some narration in the middle of that.
Okay.
You frustrate the hell out of me,
she said, without realizing she'd said it out loud until the words were out of her mouth. Well, yeah, he said. Sorry, I thought we were talking about Bull. You just feel the need to pepper our conversations with derogatory statements toward me or something? She felt heat rush to her cheeks.
I can't read you,
she admitted.
I mean, I'm a frickin' empath, and I can't read you. I don't know when you're joking, when you're just being a man, or when you're serious. It's frustrating, especially when I want to know if you're serious.
I'm always serious, Red said with a shrug. Just because I throw in the occasional dick and fart joke doesn't mean I'm not being serious. Really, give me one example when I haven't been serious.
That was very good.
I don't know how you can go so quickly in between the characters.
And that's not even the deepest male voices she can do. Because I think Yankee Pride, he's like so deep. I mean, you must be like, pulling
Yankee Pride has that deep rolling southern, that Hotlanta southern preacher accent. So that one's not hard. The hardest for me is Bulwark, because it's so deep and so gravelly, and he's usually talking with Bella, and you heard her voice.
It's all the way up here.
Yeah.
So jumping back and forth, it's a challenge.
Of course, she would be the empath that talks like that.
Of course. Of course. And the funny thing about all the characters, the only one I ever got any voice direction on was Red Genie. And Dennis recorded a little bit and said, yeah, he needs to sound kind of like this. And everybody else was like, so, anything? Nah, just do what you want.
Yeah, especially if you're like, I want this one to come off a certain way, like you wouldn't want the high-pitched voice for, the detective, that just wouldn't work, so.
But I knew what, again, Bella was one of the ones I'd seen in-game when I was running around with her, and this tiny little stick-thin sky blue thing. I was like,
yeah, she's totally going to sound like this the entire time, be a little bit whiny and really, really aggressive.
Yeah. But I love her. She is one of my favorites. voice.
Yeah, because it's more than just voice; it's character. Like, you have to be able to project that, like you said, aggressive or whiny. It's not just the change of the voice. So it's truly acting more than just reading.
Yeah, and the way you went from boom to narrator, boom to the other character, I was like, wow, okay, because you're doing it so fast.
It cuts down on editing time. That's my main thing. I just want to be able to get it in, get the mistakes out, produce it, and put the episode out there. Yeah. So
it's like split personalities. Okay, this is when multiple personalities order comes into play. I mean, how you can just...
How much can you record in a session before you're like, well, I just got to take a break? Like, is it hard on the voice like that?
It can be. This morning I was recording a short, short my butt. It was a short story in that it was a one take, but I was talking for 80 minutes. It was an 80-minute sound file. It wasn't nearly as difficult voice range as Secret World was, but it was still talking for a while, and that's about my limit. After I finished that, I shut the mic off, got a cup of coffee, and was like, I'm not recording anymore. Because you'll burn out.
Yeah, I'd be exhausted. I'd need a break. I would need
wear your voice out quick doing that.
Yeah. So usually what I try to do, most of our episodes are between 25 and 45 minutes. So if it's a super short episode, I'll record 2 back-to-back, and then I'll break for a half an hour. And then I'll try to do that if I'm lucky enough to get a good chunk of recording time. But usually, given day job and family obligations, I can usually get in maybe an hour and a half worth of recording, and then
do you
go back to normal.
Where do you do the recording? Here in your house?
I'm in my house. This is the studio that I use, which is a converted walk-in closet.
You were serious about that?
Yeah, I was totally serious.
I thought it was just for the podcast you were calling.
No, my bathroom is actually on the other side of the door.
Oh, wow.
So we, when it got to the point where I was recording enough, and I had the money to upgrade the computer equipment, my husband and his dad, who does interior carpentry, they came in and ran wires, and so I have the computer on one side of the wall, and then in my closet I have the keyboard, this little keyboard tray that's on a swing arm, and the monitors mounted on a swing arm, and then I have my main recording microphone, because Google Chat does not like multiple microphones. So I'm speaking through my webcam mic, but I have my big microphone right there.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
It's my big shiny one.
But you started off on regular equipment, and then you've said you've upgraded. So
yeah, I started with the first stories were actually recorded on a $20 USB stick mic, and then I got another condenser mic, and I only just upgraded to this microphone this past Christmas. So that it's the convenience of a home setup where you have your own spot is being able to upgrade stuff piecemeal and not have to do everything at once, because that gets expensive.
Yeah, Ravenheart's been reading a book about recording your own audiobooks for authors.
Which one?
What was it called, Ravenheart? Making Tracks, I think?
Yes.
I think that's right.
And it's a good one.
It is.
You've
It
got
is.
it on
Dan
the Kindle
Sawyer.
right next to you.
Oh,
Dan Sawyer he knows his stuff. He's a great author of his own right. He does wonderful productions, and best book you can read, hands down.
The technical parts were very technical. He's like, we are going to have to measure the rooms and make sure the echoes are just set. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
Well, some people
Maybe
want
eventually.
that amount of tech stuff, and other people just want, okay, what do I click here? What do I do?
Yeah.
So
He definitely spells everything out so you completely understand what you're getting into.
Yep.
When I was telling her about it, I said with this book was written so that if you get through it and you still want to do this, you're definitely serious about doing audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way it's written, it sounds extremely complicated, and I could definitely see where it could overwhelm people who might not be completely serious with it, or might not understand what they're getting into.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is, because... Go ahead, sorry.
I like how detailed it is. It can seem a little overwhelming at times, but take it piece by piece, and I like this level of detail.
That's why you're tech guy.
So are you a tech girl, Veronica? Or is this something you've kind of had to work your way into?
Well, bits and pieces.
Because you said you're actually producing. Like, at first you were just doing the voices and you weren't doing all the editing and stuff.
Right.
But now you're doing the whole...
I do the whole thing. My process is really simple, and I'm able to keep it really simple because I start out with very, very clean and quiet recordings. So I have next to no background noise. I invested in a good microphone, but the software that I use, free. I mean, Audacity is some of the best stuff out there, and you can use it, and it does the job, and it does it well.
Yeah, we do Audacity for the podcast.
Heck yeah.
So, getting back to Secret World Chronicles, we kind of strayed. So season 1 starts. Well, why don't you tell us how season 1 starts? Where the story begins in the Secret World Chronicles?
Okay. So the Secret World Chronicle is set in present day, alternative slightly, Atlanta, Georgia, and everything is going well. The reason we say it's alternative is because in this world, metahumans, superheroes are commonplace, and they have their own group called Echo that kind of serves as your police force and helps to regulate metahuman powers. Then the Death Spheres and the Kriegers come, which, rather than go into the whole long explanation, which you should listen to the podcast or read the book for, space Nazis. Because if you want a really, really horrible, awful villain that has a great combination of science and magic, you go for the Nazis. So we have space Nazis.
Yes.
And
that's the Nazis to another level.
exactly. Armored Nazis. Armored space Nazis.
And Star Wars anyway, I mean.
Oh my gosh. We had to poke so much fun at pop culture writing this.
It's like ode to the Nazis in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Moff Tarkin. Oh, anyway.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And it's not just on Atlanta, but they hit all of the major cities of the world that have Echo headquarters. So Moscow gets hit, Chicago gets hit, New York gets hit, and these spheres descend. They deploy these huge armored soldiers, tear through the whole place, and then they just kind of rise and leave, and Earth is in ruins. And I think the way we have it, 2/3 of the metahuman population is wiped out. So Echo is now in a rebuilding phase. They're trying to figure out where in the world these things have come from and what do they want. So after the invasion happens, we have different pockets of metahumans coming together, either being recruited by Echo, coming back to Echo, in some cases running from Echo, and trying to figure out who these people are, what do they want, and why are they coming after us specifically.
It had a real, like, War of the Worlds feel to it. I don't know if you intended that, but where it's like these giant you know, robots are moving through town and they're just ruining everything, and, you know, but then the superheroes were awesome to see them, you know, okay, you know, we're going to go and fight this one. And each one, I don't know, the whole first season, where with each character coming across their own, like, personal story, it was kind of like little vignettes of, like, this is how this person dealt with it, and this is how this character dealt with it, and each one, but each one, it was, you still, even though you knew, like, okay, there comes a point where, you know, it happens.
Yeah, we did get criticized for that. It's like, again, really the same day again.
But each character, though, I mean, I was with them, you know, each time, so it wasn't, I mean, maybe fewer characters, but at the same time, each one, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to pick the character, you know what I mean? Like, each one had a very good, you know, you remember, you know, like, okay, Red Devil had to deal with it in this way, or no, Handsome Devil, that's his name.
Yeah.
You know, and each person had a different power, and how they were handling it was in a different emotional space still. It was very unique. So it wasn't like rerunning, like you said, you know, you were kind of worried about that. It was different for each one because they are a different person, and they can only fight it in their own way of fighting it. But it was still very much like, oh my gosh, the world is ending. You know? Like, how are they going to get out of this? You know? I mean, they're superheroes, but these are like giant monsters. You know?
It's like, this is more than what we bargained for.
So you just finished season 7, or you're finishing up season 7?
We are. Let's see. Season 6 is supposed to end up, I think, by the end of June, from the schedule that I put together, and then season 7 is supposed to start.
It's okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to, you know, give it a week and then, you know, pick it up at the end of the year, or if I'm going to just kind of, you know, record stuff, keep it in the feed, and then up and release the whole thing at the start of next year. But I think if I did that, I'd have a lot of very, very angry subscribers. So it'll probably just follow a couple weeks right after that. But it's huge. It's a lot of stories.
Do you have like a place where you know it's going? Like, this is where it ends, or is it always going to be ongoing and building?
Well, no. We have a 5-book contract with Baen, so we know that once we get to book 5, it's over. We do have we have an end game. So we know how it's going to end, and we have an outline that we work to fill in. So we've finished book 3, this print book 3, and we're working on writing print books 4 and 5. And so our hangouts have been us sitting there and working through the little minor storylines and typing those out. And okay, so if this happens at this part of the book, what does that let us do in the middle? And oh, we have to, you know, we have a scene right now that we know we're going to have to go back and edit because we have to use that. It's set in a bar because why not? Why not? Throw them all in a bar. Really, let's put Red Genie and John Murdoch together in a bar and let's see what happens. And we know we're going to have to go back and edit that because with those types of conversations, we're going to want to allude to stuff that happens later in the book.
Right.
So it's a braided novel format. It's piecemeal, but that lets us kind of work things together and touch up stuff later in the book. It lets us write ahead and then backtrack, which can be very helpful.
I was just thinking this just popped in my head. Do the fans at all influence in any way the future of the series? Like, if you hear them talking about something or somebody, does it change any, or are you just like, no, this is the way it's going, I don't care if you like it or don't like it?
Well, usually the stuff that we release is it's already been written. So the stuff that people
future.
I think the only time that we did that was in not killing off 1 or 2 characters, because we're like, if we do that, we are in so much trouble.
Oh yeah.
Not that we haven't done it before, and there are still people who are not happy with certain character deaths that have occurred, for which I was responsible. What can I say? I'll be your lightning rod of hate.
I just wondered, I mean, because you don't want to, I just wondered how the fan base influences the creative process. But I see Archer and Ravenheart completely agreeing with that. So I'm like, okay, there you go.
Yeah, there's some, I mean, you write some stuff out far ahead. Now, what we have done, we had some contests way early on, and one of the prizes in the contest was we had a character of someone's choosing. They could pick, the character's name and their metahuman ability, and we would write them into the story. So we actually have 2 characters who, and this was almost 2 years ago now, but those 2 characters are going to show up in a story that's going to be, I think, it's going to be in season 7 of the podcast, but it's going to be in print book 3. So there's these characters, those are from real people who came up with these awesome ideas.
That's genius too, because you're getting more of a fan base too.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because you get more people involved because they're like, well, I have a stake in this. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't do it that often, but when you do it, you can come up with some amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it really is that investment in, that piece of ownership.
Okay, I'm going to use it on Archer and Ravenheart. I got this great idea.
We actually had one fan, we put her in the books.
Oh, nice.
Because she was such a big fan. She was one of our early fans. We don't have a huge fan base, but we have a few that are very loyal. And she was, her name is Emma, and she really liked this one character. His name is Malcolm. And so I was like, okay, so if you were in this world, what would you be? And she'd be like, well, I'd be a fairy. And I'm like, and what would you look like? And she told me, and then I had a scene where he goes up and he has his first real kiss with her character.
That's her.
That's awesome. Oh,
right.
So he kind of gets egged on because he's never had a real kiss, and he's got a friend who's like the playboy. He's like, you need a girl with training wheels. Somebody who's sweet. Go kiss Emma. And he's like, okay.
I forgot
goes over and he's like, I have a question. And then just kisses her instead of asking. Because he's like, I can never ask her this question, can I kiss you? So he just goes in for the kiss. And so, he has his one little kiss, and, they have that little teenagery, moment of kind of giggle jitteriness about it, and then moves on with the story. But, yeah, so she's our one fan who's made it into the story.
Nice. Nice.
In a good way. That was a really good way, because that was her favorite character. How awesome is that? I never heard that before. I like that.
So you have to have who's the fan favorite? Who's of all the characters?
Man. It depends on who you talk to. A lot of people like Vicky, so Victoria Victrix. A lot of people like Handsome Devil. I'll leave it at that. Just spoilers. I'll leave it at that. A lot of people like Handsome Devil. Who else? Ramona, because there's that easily identifiable factor. Let's see. Red Savior, because the bossy, loudmouth Russian. Yeah. And then there are a couple characters that show up who they're the comic relief, or they're that that little bit of empathy. We have Pavel, who's the Soviet bear, who's just the dirty old man of the group. He's terrible. He's awesome and terrible to write. He lives off of. He's one of the old school, old Soviet era, part man, part machine, with sturdy Russian worker parts, and he lives off of cheap rot gut and Chef Boyardee ravioli.
Like every Russian, right?
What a combination.
And just wants to sit and watch soap operas all day if he's not out running missions. And he hits on anything that moves with 2 legs that seems attracted to him.
Yeah,
So-
I can see that.
So it's just dirty old man. And it's so much, people are like, oh, Pavel's in this is going to be great. Somebody's going to smack him. It's going to be great.
Do you have fans going, these two need to hook up?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we have some threads on our Facebook page. There are some hardcore shippers for certain pairings. I don't want to say who does, pair up and who doesn't. Mm-hmm. A lot of the fans are right, but they won't be right for a while. Because we love to torture our darlings.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
So, this project has an end. Have you and your partners talked about a new project in the future, or are you pretty much like, whew, when that's over,
I it's going to be so many years. I don't know. Misty and I have talked about writing together. I know she and Cody have worked on projects. Dennis is kind of in the same boat that I am. He's got a very intensive day job, plus family stuff. So trying to balance that many projects, it's pick one, focus on one, and then move forward. But we have talked that, the characters that we have and the world we have, it does lend to expansion. So what's going to happen in 10 years once this gets fixed? What are other characters that we can work with and use? So yeah, please, we're role players. It can't end. There is no end game.
That is so true.
Absolutely.
And if you get tired with this one, you'll just make a new character, but then that one finds his way back in, It all comes together, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so are you working on any projects on your own? Yes.
Let's see. I'm working on the second draft of a story that started out as a comic script. A friend of mine has indie comics press. It's called Incubator Press. And he started putting out these little anthologies. And he had me world build a couple of basically settings that other people could play in. So I built a crime noir spot for him. And I'm working on a story right now with another author friend of mine that I met through City of Heroes, who's actually written short stories for Misty's Elemental Masters series. So he and I are working on a story set in the crime noir spot. So it's probably like near future science fiction. There's really no fantasy involved in it, but lots of good angst, which is what we all need. And then the one that I'm working on myself it's urban fantasy. There's a bit of a religious-esque twist to it. Demons and the abyss and angelic things that aren't really angels. And that started as a comic script, and I started to write the novel because I needed a way to to get money so I could pay an artist, because I wasn't going to ask someone to try to draw this for free, because that just wouldn't be fair. So 2 years and way too many words later, I'm talking to an editor and working on getting that process going. So yeah.
Are you going to look for a traditional publisher, or are you going to go indie?
With that first one, I will probably go indie, because the nice thing about doing all the voice work for all these different authors is that they all have additional talents. So I've been able to ask what editors they use. And one, I'm actually going to wind up trading voice work, so he'll help me get the book ready in EPUB format. So, just trading services back and forth. I know another voice talent. She also does cover designs. And so I'm going to work with her to get a good cover design. She has gorgeous work. Her name's Starla Hutchton. Beautiful. Oh, my gosh. And her voice is gorgeous, too. She's my favorite female voice artist. But so I'll probably go indie because the resources are there. I don't know. There's enough doubt in there. It's like, crap, I'm going to send it to the editor, and she's going to go, what is this crap? And why did you email this to me?
Yeah, all your work with the Secret World Chronicles, not gonna, give you that confidence after all these seasons.
No, totally not. No. So we'll see what happens, but I think given my other experiences and given I don't see why I would need to necessarily find a big publisher immediately, because it's not, I can't say that it's like something, it's not necessarily the next big thing. And if it's not the next big thing, the time that I would spend trying to find a publisher and trying to go that route, I could get it out there. And I'm more concerned with getting stuff out there and getting the story told, because I think with anything, with your first couple stories, you have to get over that, oh my gosh, it's going to suck, and just get it out there. And then, after a while, get other people talking about what you're doing. And then publishers go, wait, when did we miss this? What happened? So in my dreams, that's what happens. But I would just want to get it out there, and get it out there in print, get it out there on audio, and just, keep going, keep having fun.
How important has the audio been for the project versus having it in books? You get the audience from books that are like finding the stories, and then you have your audio group. And you mentioned when we were chatting on Twitter that there's pretty much separate groups. There's the readers and there's the listeners. How important has that listener base been versus a reader base to build, your group of followers? I mean, is there more of the audio? How's that working out?
It's like I said, they're totally different. I was at a panel, and there was a woman there who, of course, knew of Misty's work as an author, and she had never heard of the podcast, had no interest in listening, and just wanted to know why we weren't putting this out in print immediately. I didn't really know what to say to that. So the reason the podcast I think the podcast brings people to the books. The books don't necessarily bring people to the podcast, because the podcast is always there. The stuff that is getting put out, it's current. You have a new episode every single week, rather than you have to wait a year for the next book to come out. So it satisfies that now I have to have more story. It needs to be portable. I can hear it on my phone. I can listen to it on my computer. So I think it helps to bring that tech savvy, that slightly younger audience in. And a lot of times what it winds up doing is we get listeners who may not have heard me via the Secret World, but they've heard me through other things that I've read. And people will follow a voice if they like it. So I've had people who have come to listen to Secret World because they heard me read a fantasy story I did for another author friend of mine, The Ballad of Iron Percy. And they liked the reading on that. Well, what else do you read? Hey, there are all of these. I read for a zombie podcast. So
zombies.
Oh my HG World. Oh, oh my God. They have a ton of stuff, and I was lucky enough to start reading for Jay Smith over there. But there were people who had listened to HG World, and they heard my voice, like, what else does she do? Hey, guess what? Secret World. So I think the podcast is going to hit a wider range of audience because it's easy to sample. You don't lose anything but a couple minutes if you really don't like it. And you can delete the file and be done with it. And you can get it from anywhere. So it's essential, I think, for at least for our titles and what we're trying to put out.
So I have to ask, because this is kind of our running joke, and since you mentioned the zombies,
yes,
what is the one important key about surviving a zombie apocalypse?
Oh man, the important thing about surviving
what you would do.
What
would you do to
survive? What would I do?
Yeah.
Lock the freaking door is what I do. I mean, honestly, I pay attention to the news for as long as it was there, and then don't go outside. No, don't go outside.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said the first thing I would do is go to the window and look out because I want to know if it's really happening.
Yeah, it's a communication. Shut the doors, lock the windows. I mean, I'm in Florida. Really, the first thing I do is I put up the hurricane shutters. Because
There you go.
Yeah, but what do you do?
Rename them to the zombie shutters.
So yeah, after that, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it seriously when it happens. That's my outlook on it. When it actually happens, then I'm going to be dead ass serious. I'm going to raid the people around me is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let them stockpile everything and then just raid them.
There you go. It's a different type of advanced planning.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm like the grasshopper instead of the ant. I'm just going to raid the fly when it's over.
There you go.
Or when it happens.
So where can people find you online?
Well, one of the best places, yes, you can find me at www.voicesbyveronica.com, and that has all of my voice work. My personal blog is at www.dawningsky.com, and that's everything from academics to voiceovers to complaining about writing to writing snippets, everything. I'm on Facebook. You can search for Veronica Giguere, voice artist, and my page is there. Oh,
That's the best name ever. I love that name.
I lucked out. My mom had good taste, and I married into a French-Canadian family, so it's all good. Oh gosh! And then, like you said, I'm very active on Twitter as V for Voice, so VFORVOICE.
There you go. It's been great having you on. Did you have anything else you wanted to share?
Oh gosh. Anything else? This is like the end of my day. My brain is so fried.
They were both like, when we were getting ready to start, they're like, you'll be talking, I'll be sitting.
Yeah, we'll just join in every now and again. We're really tired.
No problem. No problem.
And I'm like, Veronica's coming on.
Yeah, I know. She wanted to be like sicker.
Because I like I said, I totally thought there was a whole cast.
No, it's
the Secret World.
No, seriously, it's me, and then our author group is Misty, Dennis, Cody, and me. And one of the funniest things, nobody ever told me not to do voices. I just figured that if I was going to tell a story and there was a huge cast of characters, I needed to do something to make sure people knew who was talking.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just it made sense at the time.
Mm-hmm. And now you're, all these years later with your own, doing your own voice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a business or if you just...
It is. It is. Yeah. I get paid for it. I have to pay taxes on it. Therefore, it is a business. So.
And your writing has expanded, and so I'm surprised. Have you thought about going to Bain, like since you're already there, like talking to the editors there about?
I've thought about it. I don't. Again, for me, it sounds, as I'm saying the words, it sounds really silly. It is a confidence issue. So I don't know if the story would fit what they're looking for. Maybe with the one I'm working on right now, it was one of those weird little things. It was inspired by a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and I really can't see it being anywhere else other than just out independently or under the umbrella of his press. It wouldn't seem to fit anyplace else. So maybe other things I could go and approach a publisher, but that one, it's too close and too near and dear. It's my baby. I can't let it go. So.
Yeah, and then you can control it more, make it what you want, and not have an editor go, this is great. Now we're just going to make it a little bit more Harry Potter, or something.
Oh gosh, I said I'm on the second rewrite. It's because I literally had to change the gender of one of the antagonists, and it was one of those cases where I was writing and I was like, this doesn't seem right. This doesn't. He should be a she. Oh. But it was great because she's even nastier and more cantankerous and more problematic than he ever was. So, win. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being on. This has been fun.
Thank you so much. This has been a hoot.
I'm awake now, just in time for bed. Got my second win.
Oh, this is dangerous.
You've been listening to the Ultimate Urban Fantasy Podcast. Find us on the web at ultimateurbanfantasy.com. Make sure you sign up for the mailing list for updates and goodies. And hook up with us on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and YouTube. You can find out more about Archer and Ravenheart's The She series at shetouch.com. That's SIDHETOUCH.com. See you next time!